Namaskar and welcome to Pilot Mentor Podcast. We're in the episode 5 of our journey. Today we have an amazing person here with us. We try and ask pilots not what they do and why they do it, but the way they live and how they live. We have someone who has crossed mountains, kayaked in the Antarctic, and is a photographer, is a father, is a dreamliner captain, is an adventurer. And finally, he's also a storyteller here to tell us his beautiful story. We welcome Captain Ghani Khan on Pilot Mentor. Namaskar, sir.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, viewers. Those are very heavy words to live up to, but I'll try to do justice to the podcast. And it was very nice. It's an honor to get invited here and speak about it. I love speaking about my experiences, and they have been quite varying throughout the life I have lived. And Ronak has given me this opportunity to speak about it. And I look forward to interacting with Ms. Ronak here.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. That's quite a lovely way to put it. Captain, to begin with, first off, again, words fall short. Thank you for sparing your time. And it's a delight to be speaking to you. And today when I had to come here, yesterday I ended up, let's say, watching 10 videos of people climbing mountains and kayaking just because I was here to meet you today.
Oh, is it?
And
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And it's an addition to my bucket list now.
Oh, is it?
Yep,
Oh, wow.
absolutely. All because of meeting you and being able to speak with you.
So, since you are talking about mountains, are something which is the collection of 100 self-help books. Climbing a mountain or descending a mountain will teach you more about life than living maybe 5 to 7 years of normal office day life. Because when you determine yourself to climb a mountain, first of all, you go through this phase of doubt. Whether would you be able to change your body and mind, condition yourself for the huge struggle you're going to face. So I would say you start with struggle, then you fail, then you get up again. What do you become? Resilient.
Wonderful.
With all that struggle, you climb the mountain. And believe you me, when you stand on the summit, it's not the view or the reward. You will get a bit subconsciously, in a subtle way, you will get a bit overconfident. Your iota of pride seeps into you. And then while descending, you fall and get up again, you become humble. And the real summit is to get down the mountain safely and to rediscover yourself.
So it's a self-discovery journey you're on. While climbing, it is different. While descending, it's different.
So it's a renewed you.
Renewed sense of being.
Correct.
Understood.
So you can compress all of it into a mountain and live through it every time you summit.
Oh, wonderful, Captain. Then I'm probably taking off the 10 books I have sitting on my shelf and maybe going to Kilimanjaro right away, obviously with some training and help from you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Also, you were always an outdoorsy boy, right?
Correct,
While
correct.
growing up. Your father was in CRPF.
Yes.
And you're also a pilot, about 2 decades of flying.
Yes. So currently I'm a trainer on the Dreamliners, around 22 years in Air India. I have around 10,000 hours in command. I have flown 7 kind of airplanes.
Wow.
But these words which I just uttered, it's not me who I did it. There are a lot of people, my family, my friends, who kind of helped me materialize this throughout the years.
Wonderful.
So I don't like to introduce myself as I am, because that's a very common way to start the podcast or any talk.
Right.
Basically, it's we are. So
Collective.
that's what, I can't just cut off. There are so many people who have helped me achieve and live this dream on a perpetual basis.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood. Including your wife, who also accompanies you here today.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. Where did it all begin in terms of childhood and the outdoorsiness and the
All right.
The adventure spirit.
Interesting question. So it all started because my father was in the paramilitary, and I grew up literally in midst of nature, listening to waterfalls, going on unit picnics to mountains. And it was a very nature-oriented, simple upbringing. There were no complications. There were no gadgets. There was no comparison of social status. And when I joined the airline back in 2003, I was puzzled by the amount of people I saw in Bombay. I had never seen so many people compressed into a
Small space.
small space. I had never seen so many people running after so much of restlessness in the society. I
Right.
grew up in a very calm
Right.
and organic way, I would say.
Right.
So when I joined the airline, I had to adapt to it. But because they say that, childhood, the first 7 years or 12 years which you live, they are embedded into your personality forever.
Do you think that's true?
Yes, because once I got a little tuned up with the airline culture and the flying, I never left that exploration to nature. My layovers were never sitting inside the room. They were always outdoorsy.
Okay. And
Yes.
you're able to manage it all?
Ronak, that's a very good question because I don't have to struggle for it. Like you keep hearing people losing weight and,
Yes.
they have tattoos, I'll do this, that.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately everything fades away because that consistency part disappears. So if you go through the struggle phase into the flow phase, if you close that, if you just nudge over that speed breaker, then every struggle ultimately becomes a flow. But people give up in the struggle phase only.
Understood. But for you, when other pilots or other crew members are off sleeping or resting in preparation for the next duty they are
Correct.
supposed to perform, what is that fire and where is the nudge for you that you venture out and do the other things so naturally?
So of course, commenting on the long haul flying, we do require a lot of rest for our WOCL exposure. So WOCL is circadian low. So I don't compromise on my rest, but the room where I get to stay is only for rest. That is it. I get up, go out, and it's just that I can't do without it now. It's embedded into me. It's
Okay.
permanently there. That's how my childhood has wired my cognitive circuits. So I have to, and I'm very open to experiences. I will always try something which I haven't tried, in a
Right.
good way.
Right. I think
So,
I can
I
tell a
hope
little.
it sums it up.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course. I think I can tell it little because when I asked you a question this morning, you were like, why not? It was about trying a beverage or something, and you were like, why not?
Absolutely.
So, of course, I get that. And do you credit your parents for probably all of it? Because you said the earlier 7 years are your cognitive development years.
Correct. So my parents, because they were in paramilitary, so we always went outdoor and explored. There were times where I used to disappear from a unit picnic and go on to my own looking for something. Now I could correlate that to who I am now.
Right.
And my parents would never stop me from doing anything.
Okay.
It was more experience-based parenting. That experience it, fall, get up, and then come back to us with that experience.
Understood.
Because if there is a lot of instructions in a like a parent is putting to his child,
Right.
then his own growth stops, because then he thinks that the flow of knowledge and experience is only from the parents to me and not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Whereas parenting, it should be bilateral.
Right.
So that's what I encourage my like I really love them for it. That's the reason. So now I'm reciprocating the same for my own
To
children.
your own children. That's so beautiful. That's a thought we can hold on to. Parenting is bilateral,
Yes.
and that's something you absorbed. That was not taught to you, but that's something you absorbed from your parents' style of parenting, and you're
Correct.
following that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So, Captain, your father was in the CRPF.
Correct.
He had his uniform on most of the times. You saw him. There was a service mindset. There was an adventurous mindset at home. How did that shape you as a person? And how come a person like you is not a professional mountaineer or something, is a pilot? How did the pilot come into being?
So back when I was growing up in standard 8, grade 8, so my father's senior son got into Air India. Oh, it's okay. My father told me that there's somebody known who is in aviation. So what are your thoughts about it? I was actually out of thoughts because I had no exposure to aviation. Back then there was no internet, there was no exposure. You could not talk to so many people, interact much.
Absolutely.
But I remember my father being posted in Tripura, I believe, and we went there on a summer holiday. first time I sat in an airplane, and when the captain applied the takeoff thrust, I could feel the thrust in my whole body, you know.
Right.
And for a 12, 13-year-old kid, it was just the excitement of it,
Right.
which got me aligned and committed that this is something which I'd love to do throughout my life. And I was very baffled by the color of lights at the airports, blue, green, and you know, those colors really attracted me.
Mhm.
And when I walked into the flight deck, some captains were kind enough to let me in back in those days. I was just taken aback by the displays, the buttons, and the procedures they go through. So that kind of aligned me and kind of made all of this a purpose for me. And then later in life, when I was growing up and I got a bit senior in school, everybody was going for engineering, medical. So I thought, and maybe I was the only one who could relate to something which has not been explored. Aviation could not open up that much back in early 2000s. So I thought, you know, why not do something, never follow the sheep, never follow the herd, do something else which I wouldn't say nobody has tried, but a few people you could relate to
Understood.
and hold your ground.
So it was the alignment and you following it up like that.
Yes.
I have something arises from here.
Yeah.
I do understand that you chose with the thrust. There was an excitement. You were a little boy. All that,
Correct.
it's obviously it's a huge emotional impact. What I want to know here is, it was the early 2000s when you were venturing into aviation.
Yes.
Today, in terms of finances, it's a bit hard to pursue this field.
Correct.
How easy or how hard it was for you, because there was flying to be done, DGC exams to be answered, and medical, I don't think there was a worry there for you.
Thank
So
you.
the rest of it.
So all the finances were, of course, managed by my father, and in fact, I'm the eldest in my family, and he almost put out everything into my education in terms of to become a airline captain someday, and there was a lot riding on me, because my siblings were looking up to me subconsciously, because there is a huge power in subconscious which you are not conscious about. And I really felt that there is so much, and doing CPL in those days also, it required a greater sum of investment in comparison to a medical or an engineering degree.
Yes.
And that too in a shorter span of time.
Yep.
So my father is not much of a thinker. He's more of a doer. So that has kind of come into me. I don't waste life thinking too much. I believe that let me do this. I'm not mindless about things, but my thinking phase is quite narrowed. I hope my wife likes it now.
Wonderful.
But somehow I
Wonderful.
realized that once you commit to something, overthinking is poverty of intellect.
Overthinking is poverty of intellect.
So I would say go through it and then let the experience teach you, so that you get wise with experiences, not by thoughts.
Understood. And you really put it into action. Again, you are a doer, not a thinker. And would you do the same for your kids? Would you lay it out for them like your father laid it out for you?
So I want to be a parent who is firm and kind. So what I want to do for my children is to do less. Let them experience, come back to me with their experience, and then guide them.
Okay.
And because nowadays there is a lot of cognition in kids. They can really talk with you, and like I used to never
Be able to
I
hold
won't
a
say
conversation.
answer back, but that healthy communication part has become, I would say, much stronger nowadays.
I tell you how the way I think of it. Earlier, it used to be, was like you said, one-way knowledge,
Absolutely.
from the
correct.
top to the bottom, and
Correct.
top apparently was the parents.
Correct.
Right now, I feel when I talk to a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, I have something to learn. There's most definitely something to learn, and that applies to even younger children.
Absolutely.
You may think you know it all because you have life experiences, but they do end up teaching you a lot.
In fact, I want to tell all the viewers and my own children that be a student throughout your life.
Yes.
Even if I have whatever experience I don't want to repeat it. But when I walk into the flight deck, I feel that I have to reprove that I will fly this machine safely from A to B.
A to B.
Because in aviation, everything sets back to zero.
Hmm.
Whatever experience you have, it's okay, it's in your logbook, it's closed. But when you show up for a flight, you have to go through that discipline of sticking to those procedures, which may look a little monotonous to you sometimes as well. But then you got to
Yeah.
be SOP oriented, and that's what that outdoor that I saw my father in uniform and all that taught me, that stick to your procedures at all times. And uh, regarding the fitness aspect we were talking about, if I would encourage all the young aviators or anyone who is listening to this podcast to commit to fitness at a younger age, because that, first of all, you are living life close to the nature has not designed human body to have a paunch, heart disease, blood pressure. These are self-invented things which we have. There's something known as, which is quite negative. I don't know how will the viewers take it. It's known as suicide by lifestyle. Don't, your lifestyle should not be killing you. It should be making you to live it more,
enhancing it.
yeah. And if you have there is a saying, I don't know, maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but a weak mind cannot stay in a strong body. The body is strong, mind has to be strong mostly.
Well, takeaways after takeaways. A weak mind cannot stay in a strong body. Another one. Perfect. Like, I should have got a notebook here. All right. Well, that's lovely. That's so good. So, Captain Khan, you've climbed Mont Blanc and Mount Kilimanjaro as well.
Correct.
I am sure that there's a lot of preparation that goes before you actually climb the peak, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Do you have a regime to it? How do you do it, considering you're flying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would say, Ronak, every day is a preparation. You can't just wake up and commit to a mountain. First of all, your lifestyle should be aligned to it.
You can't just wake up and commit to a mountain.
Correct.
Nice. Okay.
So, but for example, when I commit to an expedition, last was in 2023, we climbed Mont Blanc. So 4 months before I climbed Mont Blanc, I started training for it. So training has 3 dimensions to it. One is mental, which is the toughest. So for that, you need to, so I would like to bring your attention to something known as, which is a very common term nowadays, meditation. Everybody knows about it. So if you could consciously breathe, because breath is something subconscious. Even we are talking, but it's still happening automatically. If you could consciously train your mind to concentrate on your breath, that will do wonders when you are struggling physically in the mountains. I will correlate both these sentences.
Right.
Then is, of course, the physical aspect. So I used to put my rucksack, put some weight into it, highest incline on the treadmill, and keep going at it. There is no limit. Because if I set a limit to it, then I'll feel tired. I want to go beyond what is exhaustion. And Ronak, I don't know if anybody would, maybe some people have tried it. When you physically exert yourself, to all the viewers especially, when you physically exert yourself, there is so much of clarity which you attain mentally and emotionally that it is more than crystal. And then emotions. So I am more of an emotional person, less of a rational person. So I need to regulate my emotions, because I will go through emotional lows while climbing a mountain, because I am physically putting everything into it. So climbing Mont Blanc at a point was like, I have done triathlons. I've done around 5 triathlons. 2 of them were Ironman 70.3s.
Wow.
So climbing Mont Blanc was like doing 2 triathlons combined into one in one day.
Wow.
I had the tastes of so many salts on my tongue, which I never knew that they also exist. And maybe I'm diverging off topic, but again, if you want to really test yourself in every aspect you think you have, you should climb a mountain.
We should climb a mountain.
Yes.
Understood. All right. And so again, I feel that there's a limitless training you do, because you said that if you were to put a target or a limit to it, it won't serve you later when you're actually climbing the mountain. So you do that. There's high inclination treadmill you do. There's a lot of physical activity you do. There's a lot of meditation you do for your clarity of mind. And in terms of diet, like the diet's the fad today, right?
Oh yes, a lot of, maybe this podcast is not enough to absorb all that I have on diets. So diet, I would say it's what you are not eating. If you are away from the fizz and the crisp of urban food, health is something which should be left undisturbed. You will be healthy, but you disturb your health by ingesting something into your body. Your body is an amazing machine, but you put so much of junk into it
Right.
that it will show effects. Like for example, when a baby is born, he is most epitome of health. But then as we grow teens, adults, what we do, we disturb it.
Mm-hmm.
We go haywire, and then we want to jump back to health. We make resolutions that New Year's, weight training and all that. It's very nice to have a gym membership, but it is even harder to resist a packet of chips.
It's very hard.
Or I also enjoy ice creams, but not always.
Yeah, Captain, but you have kids. You have kids, and I'm sure even with the structured regime, and they look up to you, your wife, everybody having good diets. But I'm sure it's everywhere. How do you program them not to give in to these temptations?
So I don't talk much to them about it because my son has grown up and I've given him enough lectures. Not lectures, but my talk is mostly fitness and health based. So he has started labeling me papa.com.
Papa.com. Okay.
So now what
That's
I do
cute.
is that I just so my parents, my kids, my youngest daughter, she's exposed to camping at the age of 2.5.
Okay.
And my eldest son, he can handle a kayak solo in a lake. Like I have two
Wow.
personal kayaks here. So our holidays are quite strenuous, and they are so strenuous that we require a holiday after a holiday to recover.
Right.
So my kids and luckily my wife, everyone is exposed to all these natural experiences we have
Right.
in our lives,
Right.
and that also makes us bond better
Understood. As a family,
as a family.
it's one of your family values. Let's say.
Correct.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
At the top, at the peak, when you've conquered the peak, when you're standing there, I'm sure you've taken a moment of silence to yourself and you've been like, okay, now what? Something must have crossed your mind, a thought.
Correct. Ronak, we were climbing Mont Blanc. It was 2 a.m, me and my guide. He was an Italian guide, and I used to call him Duracell because he was full of energy. I never saw him
Duracell.
tired. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, he's ahead of me, and I am behind him. And we are about to start the hardest section of the climb, which is known as Death Couloir. Why is
Death
it called Death
Couloir.
Couloir? Because it has the most number of accidents in whole of Alps, and the gradient is roughly 65-70%. And we have crampons tied to ourselves. We have harness, and I'm tied to the guide. One hand has ice axe, and my tongue has the bitter taste of energy drinks and whatnot. And the gradient increases at 2 a.m. All we have is a headlight to see what is ahead of us, rock and ice. At that moment, the guide tells me, okay, just rest for a moment and then we'll again resume. So a heavy stand, I won't say shivering, but experiencing exhaustion setting in. And I look at this airplane overflying the Mont Blanc, and I wonder, Ghani, कि तुम्हें क्या ज़रूरत थी? कितनी खुशहाल जिंदगी थी ऑटो पायलट पे, तुम कॉफी पीते जा रहे थे, फ्यूल चेक करते हुए, तुम्हें क्या जरूरत थी, तुम यहाँ खड़े हो, ये थरथरा रहे हो पहाड़ पे. So maybe it's a little humorous, but I did value that comfort which I had in the flight deck.
Absolutely.
To what agony I am in.
Yeah.
Because climbing any mountain or triathlon, anything, is a suffering.
Mm-hmm.
You go through that suffering to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think all these experiences or humble expeditions which I have done is that comfort won't make you teach anything. It's the suffering you go through which gives you a lesson in life, and you kind of realign, rediscover yourself.
So कोई जवाब मिला?
Jawab, I'm still looking for it.
Yeah.
But
you continue to do that, huh?
I do, because रौनक, आपने बोला कि कोई जवाब मिला. मुझे अभी जो मुझे फ़िलहाल महसूस होता है वो ये कि इन चीज़ों को करने के बाद ना मुझे हर चीज़ में ना उसकी तारीफ़ दिखती है. मेरे से किसी चीज़ की बुराई नहीं होती. I don't care about traffic, weather, roster, people.
Traffic, weather, roster, in
These
that
are the
order.
more,
Yeah.
I think, the top-notch things you crave about.
Yep.
If you just keep mum about them, I think you have more things to appreciate.
Right.
I even appreciate sitting comfortably in this sofa and having air condition on, because on some expeditions I could not have bath for 7-10 days.
Yeah.
Hot water used to be a luxury for us. And so that's what all this teaches me.
Understood.
So when I went to Antarctic in 2010, we kayaked there, and 4-5 sessions of, I would say, frigid kayaking. And while kayaking, we saw penguins going below our kayaks and albatrosses following us. And here we are in the middle of exact nowhere, that's how we
Understood.
lived there. When I came back from that expedition, that was in 2010 maybe. No self-help book could teach me, though I never tried, or any podcast or any. They taught me, that particular trip taught me, please don't crib about things.
Right.
Then you will have more.
To be
More of your
grateful.
life will be absolutely aligned to appreciating the small things.
Yeah.
And small things make up the big things. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope. I
Wonderful.
don't sound very prophetic.
No. Of course.
That's what I learned about it.
Captain,
what made
from
me
whatever little experience, I resonate with you. I understand what you're saying, and I think most of our viewers understand what you're saying, because only when you put yourself through a bit of discomfort, which we are not accustomed to, because since the time we are born, we are given comfort after comfort, and that's what we are seeking constantly.
Absolutely.
So once you do that, then only you realize the importance of, through this comfort, you'll realize the importance of comfort, and you consciously did that to yourself over and over again to maybe put yourself on track over and over again and be appreciative of small things.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. That's a great takeaway. Captain, any event, I'm sure, while the mountaineering, kayaking, etc., I'm sure there would have been an event or a couple which would maybe sometimes wake you up at night or, have been a close call.
So, Ronak, when I think about it, my pupils still dilate. So there was one moment in my life. We were on a trip to Iceland. And Iceland is a place where you can actually dive and you can see the tectonic plates of Earth.
Oh, wow.
So Iceland is a place where the European and the American tectonic plates, they meet.
Okay.
And there is something known as a Silfra dive. So me and my friend Ashok, I'd like to mention his name, is a dear friend of me and mine. And so we committed to this dive. So I'm not used to this winter dives. So buoyancy is really different when you're wearing winter gear.
Okay.
I did my open water scuba license in open tropic easy license.
Right.
So here we go. We start the dive, and I could not manage the buoyancy, the weights, or I think buoyancy device. There is something like that in the kit. So I go to the bottom of the site, and somehow I collided with something, and my breathing equipment
Flew away.
And here I am. When I try to breathe,
Unable.
there is nothing. And all my guide told me that if this happens, you got to move your arm like that and get hold of the secondary one. So that's the reason I'm sitting here. I did that, got the secondary breather, and I could see from the corner of my eye that my guide is aware, my leader is aware of what I've been through, and he's rushing towards me. And in water, you can't communicate the way we are. All you have is hand gestures.
Oh, yeah.
But luckily I got it, and I have never valued that breath more than what I did there. So that was really close, because you're literally out of breath in the next second. So I hope it summarizes.
Yes, absolutely. That's it does answer the question. And when you're flying, in between the uniform, in between the adventures, what's time management looking like for you?
So time management is a very important skill if you are having a lifestyle which is experience oriented. And of course, long haul flying, you honestly get good time off. There is amazing work-life balance here. Like my last flight was from Melbourne to Delhi. So I believe you are asking about the in-flight rest as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So we have 4 sets of 2 sets of crew, 4 pilots. And the pilots who are committed to doing the takeoff and landing, they decide as to who will go for the rest first. So we have these something known as bunks, which are also known as overhead bunk areas, where the crew it's just above the business class. There's a small stair which leads up to it. So we go there and rest for 5 to 6 hours, depending on the flying time. So if the flying time is, for example, 12 hours, the first 1 hour and the last 1 hour, all 4 captains have to be present in the flight deck. In the middle, we can like 50%. You're going to divide the rest and relax and come. But when we are in the flight deck, even if you come after rest, you have to be in your uniform.
Right.
Because a uniform is something which gives you that professional vibe.
Yeah.
And I would still, I don't know you agree with me or not, but when you wear a uniform, you kind of change your persona
I 200%
bit,
agree with
yeah.
you. You become a different person.
You become a different person.
Any uniform. Doesn't
Though uniform in aviation means committing to discipline and flight safety at all times, and it is also a sign of bit of authority. In civil flying, there is no
the needed authority, the
needed
required authority.
correct.
You need
the
that.
required, the pleasant way
The
of
pleasant, the bare minimum.
absolutely communicating yourself.
Absolutely.
So I hope it answers your question.
Absolutely, it does. Thank you. Sir, quickly, any parallels that you draw between adventure sports and flying?
I would say, Ronak, adventure sports and flying, especially the critical phases of flight like takeoff and landing, and for example, skydiving or scuba or anything related to adventure. It's the oneness of thoughts which you discover, because once you are taking off or landing, all there is that takeoff roll and that landing flare. There is nothing else.
Right.
For example, you're skydiving, all there is that moment when you jump off the airplane. There is nothing else. There is no identity, there is no bank balance, relationships, nothing. Everything disappears into that one moment. And that's what I, see as a kind of a common factor behind
the oneness of thoughts.
Yes.
Wonderful. I think that'll stay with me, the oneness of thoughts. Wonderful. I used to think of it as focus, but then you put it in a very better manner. Yes. I used to think living in the moment, but the oneness of thoughts is a very beautiful, almost poetic way to put it.
Thank
Wonderful. You. And I'm sure 20 odd years, you're a trainer now, 20 odd years of flying. Any particular emergency, something you've tackled?
So, Ronak, recently, I would say in December, we had a medical emergency. We were operating Delhi to Melbourne. And a senior citizen complained of chest pain. He was out of breath. His blood pressure was collapsing. And nowadays, the crew has a protocol. Like everything is digitally jailed in their minds. Why? Because they have to open up the app, put in the when there are no parameters, how would you can't type anything there. And I could see that sense of panic on my cabin supervisor's face, that as if something is wrong with her. So she was just conveying that emotion from what she could see on that senior citizen's face. And unluckily, he was alone. His family was not there to support. So I had to commit and override that digital protocol and tell the crew that open up everything what you have. And we started our diversion to Lucknow, which is a small airfield for a wide body to land on. And I think you would agree with me, Ronak, that when you are at the epitome of emotion, you'll always remember the way you talk, the numbers around you, and even the temperature of the air, because that's how your human mind is designed.
Heightened senses.
And it becomes very receptive. So that day when we committed to our diversion to landing, I still remember my landing weight was 208.9 tons. And when we ran through the performance of the airplane, we had to increase our auto brake settings, and there's something known as reverse thrust and everything we had on our side. The airplane was fully serviceable. But we were at an approach speed of 167 knots. We normally fly with 140 knots. And I had to think about melting of my brakes, because the brake temperature will go up. These are not the usual landing weights you encounter. That was the first overweight landing on a Dreamliner for me. And that is the performance part. But I had to save somebody's life also, because this decision of committing to it I don't know about the future, but may align to his life, maybe, because it was a serious heart attack. So with the help of my co-pilots, my fellow captain, we committed to it, and everything went in a manner expected. And the moment we parked, the ambulances took care of him. And later, the biggest reward for me was to get a call from his wife and talk to that person. And the words of gratitude they uttered that day. I was standing taking that phone call. I had to sit and absorb as to what have I done. For me, it was a procedural call, but for them, it was something.
A life-saving
event. I hope I
Yes.
adequately
yes.
put it in words.
Beautifully, beautifully. It was reminded me of the song "How to Save a Life." Literally, if you know that song. Well, I wish I had a moment to absorb what you just said. But moving on,
Yes, ma'am.
you've stood at the mountaintop, looked at that aircraft, and told us what went in your head at that point in time. Have you ever looked from above over there at a mountaintop or a series of mountains or anything, and has something peculiar crossed your mind?
One thing, I'll just summarize it for all the viewers, that whenever you are cruising at high altitudes, you don't see any boundaries. There are no religions. There is no financial status. There is no comparison. I would say there is nothing kept in the heart. No hardships. No grudges. So I could relate to these amazing changing landscapes, skyscapes, sunrises, sunsets, which don't repeat themselves ever. I just see that once you get closer to the earth, all these invisible mental models, they become more materialistic. Like you can touch these barriers which are actually not tangible, which we have made up. So while cruising at high speeds or high altitude or whatever, I just feel that we are all one.
Luckily enough, or oddly enough, or luckily enough, I'd say, when you said that there are no boundaries, I have often felt that that's a thought that crosses my mind as well when we're flying up there. That actually there are no boundaries. It's
Absolutely.
it's just one.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Captain, how does it work for an adventurous person like you in terms of you, your family, your wife especially? I mean, you do all sorts of crazy things. Does she follow stride? Does she ask you questions? Is she a pull? Is she a push? How does that work?
I think she's a push, definitely. So as a couple, we have skydive, scuba dive, trekked, camped, off-roaded.
And she believes you.
She just, I would
Okay.
say, she just follows. But there is, of course, an alignment with her interests as well. And I would say that she's not very like shopping and all this materialism oriented person. So, and
More on the adventure side.
more on the
Sorry.
adventure and the experience part of things.
Hmm,
And once we were exposed to all these experiences together, she liked it more. And then because in a marriage, if you are pulling apart, then you are not in sync. So synchrony, fortunately it aligned in our case, and we had so many experiences in the axis of adventure, exploration.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad that works out for you like that, and I think there's due credit to her as well for
Absolutely.
trusting you and
Yes.
letting you take the lead.
Correct.
And I'm sure you do best by your inputs as well. But yeah,
So she's an artist, and
Wonderful.
I do a bit of photography. Sometimes she paints what I take pictures of.
oh,
So and
that's
she
a
puts-
wonderful synced.
So she puts out those art in some exhibitions, and she's also a mural artist.
Beautiful. This
Yes.
reminds me, you also have published a coffee table.
Oh yes, yes.
Book.
So Ronak, I'm so happy to talk about it. So 20 years of photography, traveling around the world. I during COVID, I had a lot of time to distill it,
Right.
come up with these 220 images, and write my own thoughts about it. So writing a book is like an intellectual triathlon you go through. There is so much of cognitive hard work behind oozing out one sentence that it is beyond. I would say climbing a mountain is easier. So
Wonderful.
because out here you are exhausting yourself mentally without moving physically,
Right.
and I am used to a lot of movement around.
Movement, right.
So ultimately, with the help of my wife, my parents, I could. It was my mother's idea that I should pile up these into a book.
Wonderful. And it's open for our
So it's
viewers.
available on Amazon by the name of Side Thoughts.
Side thoughts?
Side Thoughts, yes.
SIDE.
SIGHT.
Side thoughts.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
side thoughts. Wonderful.
And,
So, for all our viewers who are interested in buying a beautiful coffee table book, candidly taken photographs by Captain Khan here, it's available on Amazon by
Yes.
Side Thoughts.
Yes.
Please do have a look at it if that interests you. Being fit, venturing into fitness, managing flying along with something unmissable you do every morning.
So Ronak, wherever I am, whenever I get up, I always stretch. So this is one ritual, the pets at home or any wild animal, when they get up, they always stretch.
I just thought of my dogs when you said that. I have two girls, and
Yes,
that's the first thing that it's written somewhere. I read that you learn how to stretch and laugh and love unconditionally from your dogs. So yeah, I mean, so that goes without saying. You do
Absolutely.
this long stretch.
So I resonating with it. So I have a way to stretch. I start with my upper body all the way from head to all the way to my toes, and especially the spinal column. So out here, motion is lotion. Like if you have a stretched body, you can't break something which is not flexible.
Yeah.
Which is flexible.
Which is flexible. Yeah.
So that goes with emotions also. If you're emotionally flexible, you're less rigid. You won't be able to. Nothing would be able to break you or lose your calm. So it's more of a emotional stretching also, in sync with physical
Wonderful.
stretching, and then 5 to 7 deep breaths. It's not that I sit under a tree for 4 hours. I don't do that. But yes, I always stretch
Breathe.
and start my day with a warm
Drink.
Warm drink, like
Warm drink.
water, lukewarm water.
Have you met someone or anyone on your travels who has influenced the way you live in a huge manner?
So recently, in a flight, I came across a person who had no legs, Ronak. And when I entered the airplane, the crew she was very compassionate for him, and I went and met him. And all he wanted to experience that day was, can I come into the flight deck and sit on the seat from where you fly the airplane? So I feel very elevated, and I felt very fortunate to have fulfilled his dream. And I would say he appeared to be happier than the normal people I come across every day. And he sat on this, and there was a person who was carrying him. And that person put him on the seat, and he wanted that I want to wear those headsets which you have from where you make the call. So I make him wear the headsets, and he had the widest smile on his face. So how he influences me is that whatever you go through in your life, or whatever, it's both ways. What you do with your life and what life throws at you, keep that smile on.
Wonderful.
It shall pass too. This shall pass too. Don't stop. Just keep going. Keep flowing.
Anything, because you've been on so many adventures, and I'm sure your diet, the clothes you wear, everything you require to carry with you has to be very minimal. You
Correct.
cannot be very carry a lot of things, etc. One thing that has always stayed with you when you're traveling, or when you're moving, or when you're just out and you hold on to it and it gives you strength, peace, whatever it does for you.
So before I joined Air India, there was a period when I think most of the pilots were unemployed. I'm talking about late 90s, early 2000s. So before I could join the airline, or before I could even visualize, on a small piece of paper, my mother wrote कि तुम एक दिन Air India के pilot बनोगे. That letter is still with me for the past 25 years. And I would say a mother's blessing finds its way like flowing water does. Flowing water will find its way. It's just like that. I keep it along with my licenses in my flight bag. The other thing, I have 4 carabiners attached on my flight bag. So 1 carabiner for each family member, my wife and 2 kids.
What's a
We are all-
carabiner?
Carabiner
Please
is the
forgive me.
thing which you use in climbing. So you hook on to
Oh, okay, the hooks.
the hooks. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
They're called carabiners. Okay.
So whatever we go
Not a
through,
climber, clearly. Okay.
So whatever you go through, among relations also, never leave each other.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Captain Khan. Cannot have enough of listening to you, but all good things have to come to an end. So does our conversation. A little thing we do towards the end here is a sweet little 5 to 6 questions rapid fire. You ready
Why
for
not?
it?
Why not? Looking
Wonderful.
forward.
Wonderful. All right, Captain Khan.
Yes, Ronak.
Sunrise in the cockpit or sunset on a mountain?
Sunset on the mountains.
Wonderful. One travel item you never forget?
My mother's letter, as I mentioned earlier.
Wonderful. If you weren't a pilot, you'd be
Professional mountaineer.
your go-to snack on a long flight.
Dates.
One adventure still on your bucket list.
Vincent Massif, Antarctica.
Okay. What's something most people don't know about you?
That I get scared when I watch horror movies.
Okay. One word that describes you, how you see life today. One word.
chaotic.
That was the wonderful rapid fire with Captain Ghani Khan. And before we end, sir, आप
Yes,
कुछ
ma'am.
कहना चाहेंगे?
अगर आपकी इजाज़त हो तो मैं एक शेर
जी बिल्कुल
मुलायजा फरमाइएगा.
बिल्कुल.
बस तेरा मौत पर चलता है ना हयात पर, हासिल नहीं कुदरत तुझे निज़ाम कायनात पर, खाक के पैकर में क्यों कर आ गई इतनी अकड़, ए इंसान मुझे बता तुझे तकब्बुर है किस बात पर. So the gist of it is that you can't control nature, life, death. You're made out of khak, which is like elements, fire, water, air. What is that one thing which makes you full of arrogance?
Arrogance. Wow.
So,
Wow.
so I just want to convey a message
बहुत खूबसूरत.
to be humble. Not when your boss shows up, but be humble to your family and your kids, because the real person comes up when you are at home. I would say, I hope it's not too heavy for the viewers.
No, I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's as beautiful as a message can get. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
It's
ma'am.
beautiful. To all our listeners, if this episode changed the way you look at pilots or at life in general, share it, forward it, and enjoy the more stories to come. See you again in the very next episode of Pilot Mentor.